What's up and welcome back to my unbearably hot and stuffy room, but I can't turn on the AC because it'll make noise in the audio. Today I want to talk about what my perfect standalone music production device would look like. Last week I did a video on my current absolute favorites, what in my opinion are the best standalone music production devices, aka Grooveboxes, for me. But like pretty much anything, all of them have limitations and shortcomings. And I still kind of find myself searching for the perfect device. And I almost wish I could just design one myself. But that leads me to why the perfect Groovebox can't exist. Everyone is going to have a different definition of perfect when it comes to their music production process and their music production tools. What's vital for someone might be totally disposable for someone else, and vice versa. For instance, the MPC-1 has CV connections, the ability to work with modular gear, and I've made a promise to myself that I will not get into modular gear at least for the next few years. So I don't care, get rid of it. But obviously for some people that's super useful and that's a great feature to have, and so I can't just subjectively say that it shouldn't be in the device. Or for some people, they really want a multi-track export. That's me. I would love every single Groovebox ever made to have the ability to export the individual tracks as WAV files or some way to record them into your DAW so that mixing and mastering in post can happen. I would love to see that be industry standard. But for whatever reason, not everyone needs that. Not everyone wants to work in the DAW with a hybrid workflow, which is totally understandable. I'm not a software or electronics engineer, I'm a civil engineer, but from what I've seen from extensive use of a bunch of these devices and kind of watching the release cycles, everything is a series of trade-offs. And if you put emphasis on a certain goal, it's going to hurt other goals, and you just have to accept that and prioritize what you want your device to be. If someone tries to cram in a ton of features into one device, it's going to jack up the price and probably the size because you need more room for more processing power. If you try to keep costs low, you're going to have to nerf some of the feature set that you were hoping to cram into a device. And if you try to make a device smaller or slimmer, you're going to make sacrifices there too. For instance, smaller pads or keys, like on the Polyand Tracker, or even none at all, like on the 1010 Black Box. And like I've talked about before on this channel, more features often lead to more complexity. A lot of us absolutely love the workflow of the Novation circuit, but wish it had more features. But if they were to start cramming more in, it would start to make the interface more complex than it currently is. And a lot of us love the extensive features offered by something like the MPC-1, but the workflow can be pretty intimidating to dig into. And of course, something like the MPC-1 or Machine Plus or MC707 is quite a bit bigger. It's less portable. It has to be externally powered. And some people are gonna be completely fine with that, and they don't need to take their device anywhere other than their studio. But people like me will often want something to be a lot more portable, so I can take it on the couch, or take it to a cafe on a lunch break, or take it traveling. All that to say, designing consumer electronics, including Grooveboxes, is a series of trade-offs, and devs are gonna make decisions that some of us may or may not like, and we're gonna have to live with those. And given the incredibly varied amount of work styles and preferences and budgets of different music producers, it's pretty safe to say that the perfect Groovebox probably just can't exist. But let's say that I could design a Groovebox. What would that entail? And what would my perfect Groovebox consist of? So let's talk about that. First of all, user interface and form factor. For both, I would want it to be pretty in line with what we see in the current lineup of Novation circuits, either the rhythm or the tracks. I absolutely adore the workflow of both. I find them to be super fluid and fast to use. They just click with the way my brain works. My brain work. They just click with the way that my brain works, and I would love to see that replicated in something with a few extra features. I'm perfectly willing to learn a more complicated user interface, and I've done it on many occasions, but For my own personal music production, I just love one that's self-explanatory and super quick and intuitive. And like I alluded to earlier, portability is really important to me personally when it comes to a music production device. I love being able to just pick up a device after a long day at work and sit on the couch and doodle out something that could end up becoming a banger, or take something traveling or take something on lunch breaks, just throw it in a backpack and then not have it weigh me down at all. That's a big deal to me. So portability and being battery powered are very important to me. Make that thing as light and resource efficient as possible. So far, it sounds like I'm just describing a Novation circuit. So let's expand its feature set a bit. The Novation circuit rhythm is great for working with samples. And if I had to choose between a synthesis engine and a sampling engine, I'd choose a sampling engine, just because that can be theoretically unlimited in terms of what that can sound like. So I would choose a sampling engine, but I would make some important changes. For instance, we gotta have polyphony. I don't mind the monophonic tracks on the Novation circuit rhythm, but if I'm designing a groovebox, all the tracks are gonna be polyphonic. 8 tracks is probably enough, so we'll leave it at that. But yeah, polyphonic tracks, and then maybe give me the ability to have like filter envelopes and glide and all that kind of stuff applied to samples as well. And then just the standard high cut filter, low cut filter, EQ, maybe an extra band of EQ if we have room, and then distortion, of course, is non-negotiable, and then reverb and delay sends are fine with me. And while I'm dreaming, I would absolutely love to see Roland and Novation collaborate to put the Roland Zencore sound engine into the Novation interface. That's obviously a pipe dream. They're companies doing their own thing and kind of competing with each other in a lot of cases, but seeing the sound engine of Roland and the interface of Novation brought together would be a beautiful marriage that would create a beautiful groovebox baby, and I would love to see that. Excluding that, just samples is fine. From there, the other big non-negotiable feature for my Gabe Miller signature groovebox would be multi-track export. I really love a hybrid workflow that lets me work on the go on a music production device that's super portable and nimble and fast, but then refine those tracks later on in my DAW. And it's absolutely heartbreaking to me that the circuits don't have an easy way to just export the individual tracks in the way that the Electribe or Roland MC101 does. Yes, you can isolate each individual track by muting everything else and then just run through them rapid fire, and I've done it. It's actually not too bad, but also I'm busy. I work a full-time job, I'm running a YouTube channel on the side, I'm trying to keep some semblance of a social life going on, and I'm trying to make music that I personally find fulfilling. 9 times out of 10, I'm just not gonna do that. It's just not gonna happen. So having a more immediate way to do that would be amazing. So those are my personal essential features. A Novation Circuit Rhythm Pro, basically, with a Roland Zencore sound engine expansion and individual track export. And of course, polyphonic tracks, but that's kind of falling under the Zencore sound engine. If that were to exist, I would probably be perfectly comfortable selling pretty much all of my other music production gear and just using that to make music for the rest of my life. That's maybe an exaggeration. I would probably still keep a variety of gear around to make content about, but you better believe that this channel will just get invaded by a device that can do all of that. Now, there are some things that can get close, but they'll make trade-offs in terms of the form factor. Maybe they'll have a different workflow, or they'll be bigger and less portable. And once again, this is me just allowing myself to be incredibly specific about what I would personally like to see and what probably won't ever exist. And that's fine. Just find something that is close enough to how you like to work and gives you at least enough features for you to get the sound that you're after, and just roll with it. And that's what I've done for the past few years with these portable devices. I've just picked something and then made it work. And then you can always sell it and upgrade later. Don't get bogged down in trying to find the perfect device. It doesn't exist. It probably can't exist. And if you find something better down the road, you can always upgrade. But just make music. Don't let gear get in the way. That's what I really want to get at here. But it is fun to dream about what the ideal device would look like. If you'd like to see what my favorite current music production devices that do exist are, you can click or tap up over here, and be sure to leave a comment down below. What would your Perfect Groovebox look like? I would be curious to hear that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back with a new video in a little bit.